of your mercy, and unfold for us the treasure of your knowledge. Ya Alim, Ya Hakim, let our heart be filled with light and insight and understanding and knowledge. Verily, you control everything. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, we ask you for beneficial knowledge and good deeds, a strong memory, and a perfect understanding, accompanied by sound intellect, by your mercy, O the most merciful of the merciful ones. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Brother Shakir, for the dua recitation. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I would like to invite Madam Nur Aini, a lecturer in Department of Psychology and Clinical Psychologist, to begin this symposium with a welcoming speech on to live and grasp the healing power of resilience. Please welcome.
Thank you, Anis Farhana, for the introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to everyone, and a very good afternoon. I would like to thank every one of you, for organizing this particular event, which is, I think, very important, specifically nowadays. When we talk about resilience, there's a lot of adversities that we've been going through lately, which I think is very much needed to talk about or to discuss about at this moment. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share something about resilience as well. I would like to welcome Dr. Nettie Matar from English department, Dr. Hafiza, my beloved colleagues, and dearest students. Okay, but before I start today, I would like to ask a few questions to all of you. Okay. So, have you ever lost a loved one? Please raise your hand. You can raise virtually as well. Yeah. Have you ever lost a loved one? Please raise your hand. Have you ever been bullied? Please raise your hand. Have you ever been involved in an accident? Please raise your hand. And looking at how many people have raised their hands, this tells us that adversity does not discriminate. It happens to every single individual. Okay? And people would experience adversity in many forms or different forms. Yeah, it is different in terms of the intensity, the gravity, but mostly people would experience at certain point in their life, okay, this particular struggle or issues or conflict. All right? And people would normally respond to adversities in many different ways. So this is what I would like to share today. How people respond to adversities, okay? And also how to learn and develop resilience. Okay. Now, as you can see there, I have grouped, of how people respond to adversity. So you can see give up, put up, bounce up, and also step up. Okay, and give up is categorized as emotion-focused coping. And bounce up and step up, on the other hand, is problem-focused coping. Now, what happens when people respond to adversity by giving up? Usually they will feel, as you can see there, they feel defeated. Yeah, they feel that they're out of control. They have no control at all. They would feel helpless and also hopeless. Okay, whereas put up, put up means they accept, they tolerate, they endure, but they're not necessarily happy because this feeling of unpleasantness is still there. Okay. In contrary, as you look at bounce up, what bounce up is actually, what does it mean? Now, to bounce up here is to fully recover. Yeah, to fully recover from the stressful situation and to be able to function normally, which is what we call resilience. But it's another level of resilience, which we call step up. Okay, so people who step up in the face of adversity, they do whatever that it takes, to challenge and to grow, to grow from that particular adversity that they went through, okay, and to achieve a higher level or the highest level of functioning, which we call thrive or thriving. Okay, now as you can see under emotion focused coping, there are a few things that are listed there. So you have when people give up or put up, they tend to be engaged in something that we call denial. They deny that this thing ever happened to them or has happened to them. And they also engage in something what we call behavioral disengagement. So they tend to not put any effort at all to deal with the situation. They tend to avoid. Yeah. And the third one, which I think is one of the most famous ways of coping, is self-distraction. We distract ourselves with so many things. People would be engaging in different activities that could distract themselves from thinking about the problem that they have or the traumatic experience that they have suffered from. And I think also, what people tend to do when they give up and put up is self-blame. We tend to blame ourselves for what has happened. Not only ourselves, but sometimes other people as well. Okay? And it's definitely emotionally hurtful, not only to ourselves, but also to other people, to self-blame. Okay? Or to blame other people. And the last part is venting. We all do that. We all vent and rant, correct? Right? When we're mad, when we're angry, usually people who are angry and mad, they tend to vent out. You have to release that anger. So you get some sort of relief. All right? Now, I'm not saying, please take note, I'm not saying that emotion-focused coping is something that is bad. No. Emotion-focused coping is the first phase of healing. We are human beings that can feel hurt, that can feel pain. Okay, so it is allowed for you to deny, to be engaged in a thing that we call behavior disengagement, to distract, to blame, and to vent. It is something that normal people would do in the face of adversity. Okay, but the thing about emotional coping, it is something temporary. It only lasts for a short period of time. Okay, so you need something. So you need something to stick or to help you be able to function better. So you need what we call problem-focused coping. So as you can see there, it says acceptance. Accept the fact that this has happened to you. Number one. Number two, active coping. Active coping here means you choose. You choose, instead of being a victim of what has happened to you, you choose to thrive. Just to think of ways of how to get out of that particular situation. Therefore, you plan what would be the ways or alternatives that you could use. Okay? And of course, most importantly, the other two, positive reframing. How to change our perspective about something. How do we change it positively? And resilience will not be complete without the support of other people. So social support or support from your loved ones, from your friends or family is very, very important. Okay, so these are just a very short sharing on how people respond to adversity and how we can group them together on how people cope in adversity or amidst adversity. And when you think about how people respond and how we have understood how people have responded, let us look at what does it mean by being resilient. Okay, so as you can see there, it's the ability to bounce back and recover fully from a challenge. And it's also the ability to move or continue forward in the face of adversity. Now, why do you think I have highlighted the word ability? Why do you think I've highlighted the word ability? Because resilience is something that you can learn and you can develop. It is an ability that you can learn and develop. Okay, because when we are resilient, we have the mental and physical strength necessary to remain flexible. And if we are flexible, we are able to bend and grow with the change that has happened or towards this particular stressful situation. And I want you to take note of what I said just now. Resilience is something that you can learn and develop. Yes, there are some people who can thrive better than others, because of different reasons or factors that contribute to it, but it doesn't mean that you can't. All right. Now that we know what resilient is, okay, let's see some of the strategies that you can adopt, in order to be resilient. Now we call this the 3 C's. Okay, it's called the 3 C's. So number 1, challenge. Number 2, commitment. And number 3, control. So what is challenge, what is commitment, what is control? So the first step, as you can see here, challenge. What do we challenge? Now, resilient individual, as I've mentioned before, they perceive change. This change is referring to adversity that changed them as a person. Okay? So resilient individual, they perceive change as a challenge. Okay? Rather than a threat. Okay? Knowing and accepting that suffering is a part of life. That's the first thing that you need to think about. Okay? It is either you swim or you sink. Right? Because if you perceive something as a challenge, again, you tend to do whatever that it takes not to sink, but to move forward or to swim. Yeah. And instead of saying, why me? Whenever adversity happens, we tend to question, why me? Correct? Yeah. Instead of asking why me, we can say, this could happen to anyone, which includes myself. Right? And the key is to find the meaning behind that adversity. That is, challenge. Challenge on how you perceive things, how you view things. Now, once you have challenged, the perception that you have, let's commit. That is the second step. What can I do to move forward? So I want you to remember this word, active agent. Be an active agent for your own healing process. Yeah. They, a resilient individual, they tend to accept, as I mentioned before, they tend to plan, they tend to persevere and continuously trying, to cope better and to be fully functioning. They will engage themselves in activities or anything that can make them better or that can heal them. That's commitment. And being committed to something is not easy. But that is what you have to take in order to move forward. And the last part, control. So what do you control? After that I have committed, I would need to control, control of what you choose or what you choose to focus on. Do you want to spend the rest of your life focusing on what you've lost? Or do you want to focus on living the moment or being grateful to what we have now? Okay? So finding the littlest thing that you think that you should be grateful of, I think that's very important. We call that benefit finding. Even the smallest things that, smallest things that could happen that makes you feel grateful, that is good. Being in control also means that it puts you back to the driver's seat. So you are in charge. Yeah, you're holding the wheel. You're in control of the wheel. Okay? And being in control also means that, as I mentioned just now, choosing not to be a victim, but be an active agent. All right? And I think also when you talk about control, And when you choose what you want to focus on, always ask this. Ask yourself, is the thing that I am doing or thinking harming or helping me? Okay, whenever you are facing adversities and you're about to do something or think about something, always ask that particular question. The thoughts that I have right now, or the things that I'm going to do or I'm doing, is it something harmful or helpful to me? Okay. And having said that, it's never easy. Change is a painful, I always say this to my students, change is a painful and difficult process. But that is something that we need to do in order to move forward, in order to have a better functioning, in order to be a better person as a whole. Okay. And also I would like to emphasize this. As I mentioned before, resilience is an ability so that you can, something that you can develop and then you can learn. And also resilience is about willingness. Willingness to be vulnerable, but at the same time, continue to live and move forward. And therefore, you can live and breathe at the same time. It doesn't mean that you have to sweep all your emotions under the rug or forget about it, avoid it, discount it. But it's all about accepting the fact that you have struggled or you're still struggling. But at the same time, what can I do to actually get out of this situation, to become a better person? Always finding meaning behind what has happened. Okay, and it is possible to live and grieve at the same time. And with that, I would like to end my very short presentation for today with a quote by Viktor Frankl. Okay, so it says there, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And if you allow me, I would like to show you a very, very short video of what Viktor Frankl mean about this particular quote.
When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. But there was no need to be ashamed of this, for tears bore witness that a man had the greatest of courage, the courage to suffer.
Okay, so that's the end of my very short presentation. I hope you all have learned something, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll be able to adopt this particular thing that we call resilience. Thank you.
Madam Aini for the wonderful remarks on mental health and resilience. Now, without further ado, let's head straight to the next main agenda, which is poem presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our first poem presenter, Nur Aya Camelia binti Kamalulai from Kuliah of Economics and Management Science with her poem entitled Icarus and Comfort.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Alia and I'm from Econs. So I'll be reciting two of my poems, and the first would be Icarus. Do you hear the strings playing, the droves of doves of white flying above? You're in love with the sun in spring. You repeat that this is love, the sun is love. But you are only human, the sun's too far out of reach. This pain is inhuman, is this the love they preach? Wings, that's all you need, a pair that'll get you soaring. Then being with the sun is guaranteed, and you turn blind to the danger that's luring. Icarus, you lost your wings touching the sun, your hands reaching out full of trust, as if she won't burn you and tell you to run. Icarus, do you love her? She tries to put out the flames and cried, life without you has been a blur, please come back, you're the only one who ever tried. Icarus, to reach out for the sun is a fool's task, just a taste and she'll burn you. But in her warmth people bask, do you not see? Nature's a clue. Icarus, I hope the sea hugs you warmly, because one day the sun will sink and it will not rise, and there is no more sun to run to. And for the second one, which is comfort, isn't it comforting to know that wherever you go, the sun still rises and the sky still flows? To find peace among the volcanoes, although you know that it is always predisposed to self-destruct and blow. Isn't it comforting to know that wherever you are, that if nature can prosper from chaos and destruction, then it can certainly heal a lost soul and a broken heart, even if, or even when, it fails. Isn't it comforting to know that wherever you go, the world evergreen, ever-changing, and in constant growth, can rise from the ashes or appear from the shadow. It glows, it grows, it flows, even though. Isn't it comforting to know that wherever you are, the world made you promise to be at peace, with the acceptance of who you know you are and the knowledge of who you know you can be? Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Nur Alia, for the lovely poem. Next, I would like to call upon Brother Muhammad bin Mustafa Kamal from the Department of Psychology to deliver his poem with an interesting title, which is Untitled.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good afternoon. Untitled poem for the angel behind the curtain, made as beautiful as the dew of the mountain, melts any hearts that flow by his fountain. I wish the angel never had to play the nocturne. Fable that knowing you is bliss, amber like the beauty of your smile. Dazzle yet puzzle, I fell on my knees. Paul's flowery scented on an isle, I saw them in the bottomless abyss. Lovely like your iris shines from a mile, and I can never mesmerize you in a list. Half of it may make the ocean dry. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad, for the amazing poem. Before we continue, I would like to remind students to fill in the attendance form given in the chat box. Thank you. Moving along, we will now carry on the academic paper presentation from 3 students on literary analysis of resilience. Right away, let us greet Amira binti Salahuddin and Aini Nabila binti Zulkifli from the Department of English Language and Literature to present their short academic paper on comparing the message of resilience in in PSYCSTaxELITS Hidup Bersama with Other Perspectives.
Hi, my name is Aini Nabila. I'm a banner student at third year. And Amira?
I'm Amira Saludin. I'm also a third year student from Banner.
So I see a lot of familiar faces here and my friends. So we're so excited to be here. So we would like to express our gratitude. And our main objective for today is to talk on our Malaysian writer, which is Sama Said, and his poem Hidup Bersama. And for today, we'll be discussing the element that can be found in the poem, and also the Western perspective, comparing Rupert Brooke, the soldier, and Wilfred Owen, Dulce the Keremas, and how Islam itself perceived resilience. I think it's a great share for us to share the poem, and it's quite long, but my friend will show you the video of him reciting the poem.
Hidup bersama. Kita sudah sampai di lereng amat indah, di bawah pelangi, dalam ufuk yang masih mencabar. Dan kita ikhlas berjanji untuk bermarwah, tenang dalam segala uji cabar dan debar. Kita mencari hanya yang tulen dan jati, sekata hidup, mengerti, dan berbudi. Kita wajar mendaki lagi, karena puncak yang jauh, dalam gelora dan topan tak tercela dekat kita. Karena kemerdekaan mengasuh kita bersuara dalam sopan, yakin menyanggah musuh, tulus menambah kawan, ini tonggak dan menara kebahagiaan. Kita datang bersama anak-anak yang sedia menyanyi, sehat, teguh, bertekad, dan berani. Mengelilingi tasik, mendaki gunung, kita mengajar mereka berjiwa besar dan berbakti. Tanah air akan indah, megah, dan bermarwah jika kita sentiasa mensyukuri anugerah Allah, dan bumi akan subur, makmur, dan mewah jika kita bekerja dan berikrar hidup bersama. Tanah air memberi banyak, mesra mendekap kita. Kemerdekaan mendorong kita berdiri dan berbakti. Dan kita sudah sampai di lereng indah, pasti tetap mendaki juga, menyanggah musuh, menambah kawan, tanpa jenuh, khawatir juga tanpa rawan. Dan dalam alam baru, semangat kita wajar padu. Berjalan kita atas nama tanah air dan bangsa, bangga karena merdeka, megah karena bahagia. Anak-anak kita bakal datang tangkas dan berilmu, dan kita dalam sejarah bakal syahdu dan bangga karena awan yang indah, lapis pelangi lebih mesra, wajah diri dan inti pribadi kita tunjang bagi kehidupan dan kemerdekaan bangsa yang sentiasa sedia belajar, mengerti, dan tekun hidup bersama.
Okay, thank you, Amira. So I hope you guys enjoyed it because it got me every time. Okay, moving forward. As we know, Sama Said produced a well-composed poem with refined and subtle meaning for people to actually ponder upon it. And this poem, like any other poem, seems to propose straightforwardness while it actually carries a heavy sense of interpretation. It's about independence by using metaphors such as layering in achieving unity and peace while asserting with alien as the key. And the word used are individual and rich, while inserting the element of nature. And the first three stanza portray the feeling of achieving freedom, the struggle, and how it used to be hard back then. The poem also incorporates Malay culture that use underlying meaning and reserve attitude to express the determination, the resilience, and also the gratitude. So you don't sense the resilience right away. And what I mean by underlying meaning is the way we talk to use kiasan, peribahasa to subtly convey what we're trying to say. So it is very interesting to note that this poem sounds so rhythmically harmonious, but because maybe because this is the poem about independence, so the author does not want to have any technical constraint in it. So no pattern found. However, there are few words that are repeatedly mentioned, such as liring, mendaki, and also belajar. Side also keep on emphasizing on how important it is to keep going. And independence is not just a title, but a never-ending journey of learning to live together and understand each other. So I'll pass the floor to my friend Amira.
All right, so as Aini has mentioned before, Selamat Saya incorporates many elements of resilience in Hidup Bersama, as this poem delivers the message of attaining the state's independence. The first two lines of the poem show that it is a journey towards independence and how there is still a long way ahead, although the nation has long achieved independence. The second line indicates resilience when the poet uses mencabar or challenging to show that despite having independence, people will still encounter many challenging events in life and that shall not stop the will and drive to go forward. Note that Selamat Saya uses the word mendaki or hiking to depict the resilience in which this word gives a significant impact to the poem, as he does not use a word like walking to describe the journey to independence, but rather hiking, as this word portrays the action of going uphill, which one needs to go against the gravity that pulls you down with one trivial mistake. In line 3 of the fourth stanza, he delivers the message of resilience by using the word tetap or keep to indicate that one has to keep going forward to reach the goal, although you have reached the hillside, because reaching the hillside does not necessarily mean the end of the journey, as the individual has to keep fighting for the cause of independence. Here, the line menyanggah musuh menambah kawan twice in line 11 and line 24 to put forth the sense of resilience, as he wants to keep reminding the readers the duty of Malaysians for independence. Alright, so enough about the poem. Now I will be comparing the poem Hidup Bersama with a poem written by an English poet, Rupert Brooke, which is The Soldier. So The Soldier by Rupert Brooke and Hidup Bersama by Selamat Saya share a similar general theme, which is about patriotism and the author's love for their homeland, but they are somehow different to some extent, as The Soldier specifically talks about national patriotism for war, while Hidup Bersama is about national idealism towards the common goal of maintaining independence. It is worth noting that both poems use natural elements, as can be seen in The Soldier, where it uses elements of nature such as flowers, suns, rivers, earth, and dust. So a richer dust in line 4 is a metaphor to describe his condition as a corpse and his close connection to the natural world. Brooke also uses the metaphor to desensitize the speaker's death. Alright, so moving on to Hidup Bersama, Selamat Saya uses a lot of natural imagery in the poem, like gunung, lereng, awan, pelangi, and tasik to evoke the sense of belongingness to the reader. So I'll be passing back to Ayuni.
Thank you, Amira. Okay, I'll be comparing the Dulce as by Wilfred Owen with Hidup Bersama. Both of these poems touch the theme of patriotism in their own style. So there's a visible difference between how the writer chose to convey the theme. What we can understand from Hidup Bersama is gaining independence is not the starting or the beginning of the country. There's a lot more from there. With achieving independence, it is our time to give back to the nature. As Selamat Saya said, and I quote, "Tanah air memberi banyak, kemerdekaan mendorong kita berdiri dan berbakti." Even on his last line, he says, "Tekun hidup bersama," because by doing so, a better and stronger generation will be born. In Dulce at the Current As, however, shows the situation of people going to war is not always glorious as it's been depicted. Through the title and the content of the poem, we can understand that Owen tries to convey war is not glorious as it seems, because it can bring both hell to the soldier and the citizen that is stuck between them. And Owen here is trying to make a point that readers should understand that resilience is all about making the right choice, because back then war seems to be a glorious act to do. So no matter what others say, yeah, we ourselves have to practice the resilience. So from this, we can see the difference between both poems in the way they convey the theme. Hidup Bersama shows how the current generation should be resilient while being patriotic and learning to live together in a peaceful life. While just say the KMS depicts resilient as being able to make a proper choice, and what writing does to you, it moves you. So okay, Amira.
Okay, so we'll be moving on to the next part, which is Islamic perspective. In Islam, resilience is not just about our ability to bounce back or get up after we fall in any hurdles, but also our capacity to adapt in the face of challenging circumstances. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 155, and it is translated to, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a lot of wealth and lives and fruits. But give good tidings to the patient, those who when disaster strikes them say, indeed we belong to Allah, and indeed to Him we will return." So in this verse, it is stated that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will always test us, especially Muslim, with any disaster. However, the ones that always remember Him will be blessed and guided. Thus, if people can adapt under any circumstances, they will be blessed with a peaceful environment. Therefore, the poem written by Ahmad Said can be related to the resilience in Islamic perspective, because it is about national idealism towards the common goal of maintaining independence. The British poem, however, The Soldier, illustrates mostly about national patriotism. In order to gain independence, the soldiers and the people must go through a lot of hardship, and there's no winner in war. So to perfectly summarize how the war is portrayed in the English poem, I quote Winston Churchill that says, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat." And with that, we end our presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Amira and Sister Aini, for the intriguing points. So we're moving on to the next presenter, also from the Department of English Language and Literature. Our last short paper presenter is Matan Shasha binti Ahmad Fuad on the notions of resilience in Malaysia literary texts. Please welcome.
All right, hello everyone. Am I audible? Okay. Before I begin, I would like to apologize in advance if there are some interruption from someone performing some dangdut on the above floor. I live in an apartment and it is something that I cannot control. And that is actually portraying my resilience as a student who cannot control external circumstances when he has something to prepare for a symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shasha Fuan and I'm representing my group mates and Nurlisa, Nafisa, Aisha, and Wan Kamaruzuli, who themselves, I believe, are resilient souls that survives the ongoing semester despite the pandemic as an adversity in the life of a university student. So when we talk about, or when we first see the word resilience, what is the first thing that we would have in mind? We would have self-patience. We would have words like bounce back. We'll even probably listen and, enjoy singing this song or this phrase. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's from Kelly Clarkson's song. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So in that song itself, it portrays the resilience in facing adversities in relationships, right? So when we talk about resilience, we're talking about how does one struggle internally, externally, in facing any hardships, the tough reality and hopelessness whenever things go tough, when you try to make sense of things, when you are struggling internally with yourself. And this idea of this whole resilience is related to the process of transferring emotions from oneself to the other. And that is what we believe is portrayed in literature. So let me just share my slide over here. Okay, I actually forgot to start sharing my slide, but it's okay. Just keep on rolling. All right, so there we go. Okay, so do you see the screen? All right, so I hope that you see the screen over here that I'm presenting. Okay, good. All right. So we're going to talk about the notion of resilience in the Malaysian literary text, specifically a local short film, Kejar, directed by Muhammad Yazid. Okay. So yes, if we were to talk about the context of the 20th century British literature, especially when there is a discourse about post-World War II and its trauma, it comes up, resilience becomes a very dominant theme used by poets and authors like Keith Douglas, J.F. Henry, Dylan Thomas. They are remarkable English poets that utilizes this whole dominant theme because they want to narrate and to somehow amplify the audience, the trauma, the hardships of the English society struggling with the World War II, and especially the soldiers who have tried so hard to survive the tremendous physical and even mental trauma. And the interesting thing about it is that it's not only that this dominant theme is explored in the context of war. Like I said earlier, even Kelly Clarkson's song, talks about resilience in the context of the aspects of social relationships. Worldwide authors, poets, even among us today who have shared their poems with us, rely on this theme to illustrate how us human beings are courageous enough to suffer. I quote back the poem from the beginning of our session, are courageous enough to suffer, to facing any adversities in life. So in our academic paper last semester, we handpicked a local literature to dissect further about this theme. Kejar was a 2015 Malaysian short film directed by Muhammad Yazid Suhaimi and was nominated as one of the finalists for Berjaya Youth Short Film Competition 2015. Interestingly, the short film centers around a character named Sufi that was played by Ahmad Shafiq. He's a secondary school student and he portrays his efforts to become resilient in reaching a destination. And all of these efforts are portrayed in the short film through the usage of various devices such as imageries, metaphors, and symbolism. So with that, I would like to show you the short film. And yeah, let us watch this together. Please let me know if you cannot hear the audio. Is it audible?
Sufi, walau apa pun cabaran yang Sufi tempuh, Mak tahu Sufi boleh buat yang terbaik. Anak Sufi buatkan semangat. Jadikan mereka bersama Sufi sebagai sahabat.
Baiklah murid-murid, mulai hari ini kita akan pergi menuju kejayaan. Guru hanya mampu menyuluh segalanya atas diri kamu sendiri.
Sepanjang perjalanan, aku nampak macam-macam peribadi. Ada yang punya matlamat untuk berjaya, tapi tak gemar berkongsi. Ada yang gemar, walau dalam bercinta. Ada yang tak sempurna, tapi punya matlamat yang sama untuk berjaya. Dan ada yang sebaliknya.
Sampai bila kita nak sampai ni? Cukup lah. Mana kejayaan ni kita nak hadap tu? Ha?
Ada di antara kita yang cepat putus asa, tak tahan cabaran, merungut tanpa usaha, dan cuba yakinkan mereka yang lain untuk turut gagal. Ada yang tak indah dan ada yang lemah. Ada yang ragu-ragu dengan matlamat, tak tahu mana arah yang betul, tak yakin. Akhirnya sebab kawan, kita hanya menuju kegagalan. Cakap pasal cinta, tak semua berjaya. Ada yang sebab cinta gagal. Dan ada yang sebab cinta belajar untuk terus ke hadapan. Segalanya balik pada diri kita. Adakah kita di antara mereka yang berjaya atau sebaliknya? Nak berjaya tak mudah, tapi tak mustahil.
There before? Okay, hold on a second. All right, so we've all been there before. We are students where we call it as we thought that we won't make it, just like how. But then eventually, when he sees that other people who have way harder struggles than him still continues to move forward, he decides to do the same. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why me and my group back then believed that resilience is strongly portrayed in this short film. So in here, we can see that the whole narration of the short film is Sufi. Now, if you don't know, is basically when the character is expressing his thoughts or feelings aloud while being alone. There are no other interactions or any other interactions that happen between the other characters in the short film. So throughout the whole soliloquy, it brings the listeners, us, together in his journey towards an unknown destination. Success. Success, I would say that it is an unknown destination because we don't know how eventually will success be defined. We don't know where success will be located. We don't know when will success come to us. So that's in this whole film, it's like there's no specific destination or where to go. We will talk about it in the moments later on. So in throughout his whole soliloquy, he also talks about how he encountered various characters that share the same goal to reach that destination in which the teacher has told him to, but achieving it with different methods, as well as putting together different struggles of those students in making their way towards the desired destination. And it also, like the students also, it's a perfect embodiment of how this one reacts to how to remain resilient. It's different to another. The capacity for you to remain strong with hardships that come through, it's just different. So it's not denying there are people who will lose their momentum, who are confused and will eventually give up halfway. So all of these together are portrayed and narrated via the soliloquy of Sufi himself. Okay, so next slide. the use of imageries, as we can see in the short film over there, we see that the students are following their teacher walking without a clear navigation. It's at a windy beach with no horizon or other physical distraction. We see that it was located at the beach. There are no other physical distractions, like there's no hill, there are no goalposts, anything. It's just horizonless. It's beach and we don't even know where is the sea. Okay. Interestingly, the teacher says, I can only show you the way. The rest is up to you. So it's reflected in later scenes showing how some students decide to retreat due to them feeling exhausted because they thought that, oh, this is not going to work out. So when the teacher says, I can only show you the way, the rest is up to you, this is where imageries come place. Yazid uses the imagery to somehow reflect that this whole conversation or this whole situation is a perfect representation of how human life is. We are given guidance, you know, like how Dr. Neti guided us through her class during the break late last semester, or how our parents guide us to become better sons or daughters in our lives. You know, even if we are given guidance, by the end of the day, it is who are responsible in making decisions. Even if Dr. Neti has tried so much to guide us through the British literature class, but by the end of the day, it is my decision to continue doing her work or decide to continue procrastinating and not doing her work, right? So we are responsible for our life making decisions. It will somehow affect our end goals, whether we reach the success by staying resilient despite feeling all the exhaustion, all being distracted with all this pandemic, or we fall back in life while we are complaining for the things that we did not show effort for. So this is the perfect embodiment of how human life is, and it really resonates close to our lives as students and as human beings overall. All right. So as you can see in this scene right here, just to remind you, as a bit of recap, we can see that it is horizonless. You see the landscape, how it shows like the beach, and you don't see like there's a clear path, like there's no flag saying that this is the end of the road. Even when at the final minute of the scene where they see that the teacher and the mother is waiting somewhere, that is not usually the definite destination of success as it seems, because again, it is horizonless, but that's human life. One success will lead you to one another. It leaves us thinking, it's like the first thing that he has achieved in this life? Nobody knows. All right. So now let's compare this to the 20th century British literature. So we tried to compare this to a poem by Dylan Thomas, A Refusal to Mourn the Death of a Child in London. All right, so in comparison to the many forms of British literature taught in this course, we see that this theme of resilience portrayed in Kerja is mostly similar to how it is portrayed by British authors, like in Dylan Thomas' poem, right? So the speaker in this poem veers through hardships caused by war, because the speaker was lamenting the death of an innocent child, yet refuses to mourn over her. Right? So the speaker says that he vows to not mourn for the girl until he dies himself. So this is a form of his own resilience to not let the brutal war overcome his will to survive, even if the death of the girl itself is something that is very, we say it's very affecting of his emotions. You know, we're not so sure if the girl itself actually has close relations to the speaker, but the tragic death itself, he says that he will not let it affect his life overall, especially when the brutal war happened. So, and then also in the final line of this poem, after the first death, there is no other. We can interpret this in a positive way, that he is trying to say that after the war ends, there should be no more blood to be shed. You know, like there will not be other innocent lives to die during the whole war. So it also reflects the overreaching message that is also shown in Kerja, where the final line, it says, to succeed is never easy, but it's not impossible either. There will always be a light of hope after every single adversity that happens by the end of the day. And we can also see that Yazid and Thomas, they're both fond of using imageries just to portray the theme of resilience itself, the dominant theme of this. Yazid showed the hardships of attaining success, of, you know, going through various difficulties in life just to reach the end goal through the background of a vast horizonless beach, to emulate the feelings of not only loss but also confusions that occur to happen in our lives without proper guidance. And Thomas, in his poem, used various religious imageries in his poem to make it more impactful. Right, so when we talk about religion as well, we are going to talk about how the resilience is complying to our Islamic perspective, right? So, I remember this is one of my favorite verse whenever I feel like there is hardship. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. It repeated twice, which said that verily with every hardship comes ease. So we believe that the value of resilience in this poem complies to the Islamic perspective because it promotes believing in hope, where Allah promises paradise for those who obey. And of people is he who worships Allah on an edge. If he is touched by good, he is reassured by it. But if he is struck by trial, he turns on his face to the other direction. He gets lost to this world and the hereafter. It means that if you are feeling lost and you also don't store your hope and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the real loss in our lives. It turns other direction. Because every hardship, ladies and gentlemen, is only test for Allah to test us as human beings. That is only proof that He loves us as His servants, right? And the characters in Kaja portray how every person reacts differently to a situation. We see that people suddenly just throw his bag and say, where are we exactly going with this? I'm giving up. And we also see how he tries to negatively influence other people to also give up, just to join the boat. And what do you do about it? How do you react to it? How does Sufi react to it? Sufi was smart enough to not be influenced by this because he knows that somehow he wants to reach the destination. So we see that there are various depictions of characters who still keep moving towards their main purpose despite experiencing failures, exhaustion, relationship adversities, and etc. It's indirectly showing that any problems and hardships that will occur, only few would see the light of hope with the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah has promised that no obstacles are given in our lives too hard, and He would not test His creatures beyond their capabilities. So when we suffer from the loss of our loved ones, or when we suffer with accident, etc., it is not because we cannot bear with it, but because we can stand back up stronger, which is why Allah said at this time decides to give this obstacle to our days. Right? So in conclusion, in our academic paper, we've concluded that the theme of resilience in Kaja is portrayed via the Sufi soliloquy and the use of imagery which perfectly depicts the theme of resilience itself. And we also compared it with Dylan Thomas' work, where both favored using the imagery to portray the notion of resilience. When we use the imagery device, it actually just makes the readers, us as well, resonate closely to the emotions of being resilient compared to just using words. This allows readers to resonate closely to the struggles of being resilient, because resilient is not you just being strong overnight, of course, but then again, it doesn't kill you, just makes you stronger. I also believe that the portrayal of resilience in the work of Yazid is in line with the Islamic teaching of sabr, because patience is a part of Iman. And with that, I would like to thank every one of you for listening to my presentation on behalf of our groups. May all of us stay strong despite whatever hardships that will come in our lives. With that, I pass back the floor to the MC. Welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Fatin Shasha, for the wonderful presentation. Dear all, we are really privileged to have all 5 presenters in our event. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause for the remarkable work on resilience. With that, Alhamdulillah, the presentation has ended. Hence, let's proceed to the last agenda, which is the most awaiting part, the announcements of winners for poetry and short story competition. For your information, the competition lasts for the whole month of March, and we have received quite a number of submissions. So may I have Sister Sabira to present the slide, please? Okay, so thank you, Sister. Now I will gladly announce the winners for poetry competition. We'll start with the 3rd place winner for poetry competition goes to Siddiq Zubia on A Ginkgo That Lives. second place winner goes to Humaira binti Hishamuddin on the rise of the Formica Empire. Congratulations, sister. And the first place winner for poetry competition goes to Sister Sarah Lin Alia binti Nurzaidi on I Will Remember. Congratulations to all of our poetry. Alright, moving on to the short story competition. We'll start with the third place winner for short story competition goes to Nick Fatin Shahira binti Nick Muhammad Zaki on Scattered. And the second place winner goes to Sharafana binti Sam on The Sturdy Rock. And the first place winner for short story competition goes to Sister Arina Hana binti Ramli on Void. Congratulations to all of the winners. Let's give a round of applause to all of our winners for a brilliant writings. The winners will be contacted by our POSH Resilience Committee soon for the prize giving. All right, on behalf of all committees, we would like to send our warmest gratitude to all participants who have given their best effort to participate in the competition. Alhamdulillah, that's the end of our first collaboration program, which is Symposium by PSYCSTAxELITS. We have come to the end of our event for today, but before we leave, let us have a short photography session to commemorate today's wonderful event. To all respected audience, please turn on your camera if you can. Our media, if you may.
Okay, I'll be the one who's taking the picture. So everyone can stay still for about 5 seconds.